Welcome to Meldon Law and Friends. I'm attorney Jeffrey Meldon, founder and attorney at Meldon Law, and welcome to a great show we have today. Chris Gillette is the co-founder of Bellowing Acres Animal Sanctuary. We're going to talk a lot about reptiles in particular. And it's very exciting to have you on the show. How are you doing today, Chris?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. So I understand you're well known in the social media, TikTok viewers, and your experience with reptiles, including alligators and snakes, right?
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. Depending on when you meet me, I'm the snake guy, the gator guy, the croc guy, the shark guy. I used to run shark diving tours too, and all kinds of animals.
So how'd you get into this field?
I'm born and raised in Florida, and I've just always had a really strong interest in wildlife in general. And so I went down to college in South Florida and started working in the tourism industry, and the rest is history.
So what was your first job with, gators and snakes and stuff?
So, really my first job was as a nature camp counselor when I grew up in Palm Bay. And so I did that when I was 15, 16. And then when I went down south, I started doing alligator wrestling shows, literally paid my way through college doing gator wrestling.
Now, how do you learn to be a gator wrestler?
Carefully. Actually, I'm self-taught, believe it or not. It's a pretty weird group of people, as you might imagine. And so I'm self-taught on it, and you got to be quick, have good reflexes. Yeah, it's.
So, did you start with small gators and then work your way up?
Yes, exactly. So, they move the same way. So, if you learn how a smaller animal moves, it moves the same way as a larger animal, which is obviously greater consequences.
Right. And gators, it's very interesting because gators are feared. We're the, official injury law firm partner of the Florida Gators, which a little bit ties in because we're a gator and we represent people that have been injured, but hopefully you won't be one of those injured gators.
Not. Yeah, I was thinking that. I'm personal injury law form of gators.
So anyhow, so you start out wrestling, when you say wrestling or explain that a little more.
So when I was younger, again, I'm self-taught on this stuff, right? So when I was younger, it was the literal gator wrestling, man versus beast. I would be handling in front of an audience of, 200 tourists and with an alligator that's literally trying to kill you. And you dive on its back and it's spinning up, literally trying to kill you. It's life and death. It was like a legitimate gladiator kind of show. And then as I learned more, I'm like, they're actually really intelligent. They're trainable. They're way smarter than people think. And so then my show evolved from this man versus beast to man working with beast. And then now when you look at my social media, you see I get in the water with them, I swim with them, I handle them in a very gentle way because they're actually intelligent and trainable. Now I always tell people that they're trainable. They are trained, they are not tame. They will definitely still bite you. They're not pets in any way. But when you know how to work with them and keep them calm, I have alligators come out of the wild within 6 months. I'm in the water swimming with him with his face right here next to me with a 10-foot alligator in the water.
And what are some of the techniques you use in order to get alligators to work with you like that?
So when you first interact with an alligator, people expect them to attack you, they want to get you. And it's they're actually usually more afraid of you. They're defensive. So the first thing I need to do is get him to understand I'm not a threat to him. I'm not going to hurt him. So then you get him to not be afraid. He's not defensive. And then if he's not defensive, he's okay, you're not a threat. Are you food? Then he is going to be can I eat you? So then you got to get him to respect you a little bit and kind of work with him some. Be hey, I'm not food. I'm not a threat. I'm not going to hurt you, but I'm not going to let you hurt me. And you kind of set up these ground rules. And then it's a lot like training how you train a dog. And it really is,
Now, do you feed the gators before you get in the water with them?
No. So that's the thing. There is no real satiation with alligators. They will eat. I've literally watched them. They'll eat and eat and eat till they puke and then just eat the puke back up.
Oh,
beautiful thing, right?
Yeah, right.
So no, they really will. They'll eat till they throw up and then eat it back over again. So there's no such thing as feed them to make it safe. No. They don't care. They always want more food. They'll slow down. They will slow down because they're getting stuffed, but they always want more. So it doesn't make it safe for you.
So tell us a little bit about the early days of alligator wrestling. What do you know about that?
Oh, like before me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what do we got? Ross Allen, was like really one of the originals.
Tell us what you know about Ross.
So he was at the Silver Springs Reptile Institute, and which, I mean, what a dream to be able to be at Silver Springs and handling alligators in the crystal clear water. Like, it's just so cool. I see the old photos and videos, it's amazing.
Now, I don't know if you know this, but I was a friend of Ross Allen.
No, I did not know that.
Yeah. Not only that, but Ross took me to his home
Wow.
in Ocala, where he had a large collection of alligators in the pond on the property where he was there.
Wow.
And he said, "Come on, Jeffrey, let's go down there."
That's so cool.
And he said, "I'm gonna make these, call my gators, right?" So he'd get down by the pond, and he'd make these noises. I guess they thought it was feeding time or something, right?
Yeah.
And he made these bellowing noises, like that's the name of your place, Bellowing Acres.
That is, yeah.
Whatever the noise. Can you make the noise?
No. It's just like boom. Like it's really cool.
So anyhow, no, but what Ross did at the Reptile Institute was groundbreaking.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's so cool.
Between snakes and gators, any reptiles. I mean, he was, really knowledgeable, and he showed me. He had fingers that were half there, and he got chopped up quite a bit.
Yeah.
Have you lost any limbs or fingers?
I'm doing all right. I got some friends. Yeah. Got some friends having some hard times, put it that way, but yeah.
And I don't know if you know his son, Tom Allen. Did you ever hear about his son?
Mm-mm.
So Mutual of Omaha had the Wild Kingdom show with Marlon Perkins.
Right.
And Tom Allen, Ross Allen's son, was the underwater guy.
Oh.
And during the 60s and 70s. And then Tom Allen moved to Gainesville, and he taught me underwater diving, and we've been...
Oh.
I actually performed his wedding ceremony in 1974.
Wow.
And in my law office.
So do you do like free diving or scuba or?
Yeah, scuba diving and free diving, both.
I love all that too, yeah.
It's really, it was fun. And so I have a little bit of an attachment to what you've done, dating. Well, Ross Allen was what, 30s, 40s, or something like that.
Yeah, way back, yeah.
And Silver Springs is just this amazing place.
Oh, yeah. It's like a dream of mine to be able to go dive in Silver Springs with the Gators, but of course they don't allow you to.
I know. And so anyhow, I think it's pretty cool though that you're taking what you love, you brought it up to the Interlochen, Florida area, mm-hmm. and you were telling me earlier that you found a beautiful piece of land for what a half of a house costs in South Florida.
Yeah. So I got 40 acres, in Interlochen. So we're creating a whole animal sanctuary there. We have over 200 animals right now, which includes 8 alligators and 5 crocodiles. Then tons of birds, parrots, snakes. We got foxes, coatis, skunk, all kinds of stuff.
Wow. Now, do you have to feed all them, or is there any natural stuff they can eat there?
No, we have to do every day. We gotta collect. That's my day every day. That's what I did this morning before I came here. I got to go out there and get all the bowls, clean everything, food prep, feed everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the long-range plan for Bellowing Acres?
So we are a 501c3 nonprofit. So that's what I was going to say. Hey, anybody watching wants to make a tax-deductible donation to the animal sanctuary, it's bellowingacres.org. So we're always on the lookout for anybody that does want to donate or help out or anything with that. Long-term, we do want to open up and do private tours is where we are going to try to move towards. Like I used to down south, I don't know if you saw any videos, I used to do an underwater gator tour where I'd have people get in the water with the gator, and the FWC requires they are separated by a fence, but I want to try to mimic that. I created this whole tour down south. It was my creation, and I want to do the same thing at my place up here, and then also just do private guided tours around the sanctuary and show people the animals.
Yeah, like I said, just being able to get a private tour is amazing. This happened 50 some years ago, and I still remember like today, yesterday, I going down to the pond and, interacting with the gators and seeing them come up. And also, I don't know if you know, there's areas where Payton's Prairie out here where they have gators that sun out there during the day. Have you ever been out there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's amazing.
Isn't it crazy? And we walked, the first time I ever walked out there, I think I was with my daughter, son-in-law, and the baby and a little dog. And the park ranger said, pick up the little dog because the little dog looks like a bite size to a gator.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. That's one of the big ones. Like when I talk about gator safety, I always tell everybody, keep your kids and pets away from the water. Thankfully, they don't see an adult human as food. We've got 1.8 million alligators in Florida. Like if they wanted to eat humans, they'd eat people every day. Thankfully, they don't see us as food, but your dogs and kids, they're on the small side. They're on the menu.
Well, I think they get a bad rap sometimes because it's usually when humans are doing something that encourages them to eat.
Yeah.
Right?
So, exactly.
Talk about that. What are some of the things that, people that are around lakes and in Florida, if you're around a lake in Florida, there's a chance there may be a gator in there, right?
What I tell people is if there's water in Florida, if you want to know if there's a gator in it, you put your hand in it, and if your hand is wet, there's alligators. That's it. If there's water in Florida at some point, there's an alligator in it, It might not be there right now, but it could be there tomorrow. Especially in all the developments where we're building all these houses, we do all these retention ponds, right? And those retention ponds might have a fence around them, but they're connected by pipes under the ground that the alligators do move through. And so like I tell people all the time, because we get this all the time. People are like, I've lived here 20 years, I've never seen an alligator, and then one showed up the next day and ate their dog. And it's like, don't get cocky. All these waterways are connected. Do not let your dogs near the water. But as far as safety goes, the big ones, like the big three, I always tell people about: never feed them. It's against the law. Of course, it's against the law because a fed gator. Well, for one, a fed gator is a dead gator. They all get killed once they're fed. So don't ever feed them because they associate people with food.
They'll come after food people. If you feed them, then they...
just that association. So if an alligator just shows a lack of fear, that is grounds to have the animal shot. Because it's clear it does not have fear for people anymore, and so it is now a possible threat, and they'll put a bullet in them just for that, because we get a lot of people like, I love gators. Every time I see them, I feed them. And I'm like, no, that makes you like an alligator serial killer. Don't feed them, because the gators get killed. But then also, obviously, it's a huge threat to humans. Almost every gator attack we get is because somebody had been feeding the gator, making it associate humans with food, and then, you don't have food, and you might be the food, So, like, don't feed them. Don't have kids and pets by the water, like we were just saying, and then don't go swimming in alligator habitat is the other big one, because, like, when you're standing upright as a human, upright on land, like, you look huge to them, But when you're in the water, it's just your head sticking up. And to an alligator who's also in the water, their eye is just like an inch above the water and they're there. And if all he sees is you as a swimmer, all he sees is the top of your head, it's a funny looking duck.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah, they will come after you in the water. And like, because I go and I dive with wild alligators, and like they will definitely show an interest. They'll come right at you. And if you see it coming, and then if you just stand up, or like bring your body up, they're like, oh, that's way bigger than I thought it was. Because they're going after this, not this. That's why I always tell people, like, don't go swimming in their habitat,
When you say don't go swimming in their habitat, is that where any water? I mean, obviously people swim in lakes and, areas where alligators live. Are there certain areas where it's okay to swim, just being, cognizant that there might be a gator there?
So an analogy I often use is kind of like not wearing your seatbelt. If you don't wear your seatbelt, most of the time you're fine. You know what I mean? But things might go wrong, and it might really cost you dearly. So that's why I tell people, like, if you want to err on the side of caution and really be safe, especially if you have, kids, if you have, family, you should only go in designated swimming areas. Designated swimming areas, they remove any alligator that shows up in there anyways. So Like if you go to the springs that are a designated swimming area, they remove alligators out of there, they shoot them, they get rid of them. So that way it is a safe area, and as a new one moves in, they're going to take them out, and they keep that as a safe area. Because we get people all the time, oh, I live in Florida my whole life. I go swimming. I never had a problem. And I'm like, I know plenty of people who also go without a seatbelt. They've never had a problem.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's why I'm like, yeah, you want to be safe.
So what about the lakes like near where you are? There's like Santa Fe and Swan Lake, and there's probably a bunch of lakes around where you are and stuff.
Right.
It's a lake area, right?
So as a lawyer, right?
Yeah.
Think about liability wise. Would you recommend someone to do something where a percentage of people die doing it, even if it's a relatively small percentage?
Well, I would certainly want to warn them.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
So, like, as a guy who swims purposefully with wild alligators, most of them want nothing to do with you. Like 99% of alligators are afraid of people. Most of them really want nothing to do with you. I purposefully go out and swim with wild alligators to film them and photograph them, and almost all of them avoid you. Mm-hmm. Almost. And then you get one that definitely comes for you. And it does, and I've had it happen, Thankfully, I've never been nailed like that, but I have a friend who also goes out and films like that. He got bit right in the head a couple of months ago doing it, and like really bad. Like he could have been killed. And it was a smaller alligator, thankfully. Otherwise, he would have been killed. I have another friend who's also swimming, and many years ago, he got bit, completely crushed his jaw. Completely shattered his entire lower jaw, had to have his entire mouth wired shut, surgery, whole 9 yards. I know several people have been nailed like this who are very lucky to be alive. That's why when people are like, yeah, but I do it all the time. And I'm like, again, it's like you're at the hospital telling the nurse, I never wear a seatbelt. It doesn't bother me. And you're telling the nurse who sees people constantly being killed and maimed by not wearing a seatbelt.
Now, I understand you brought a little gator friend with you.
I did, yeah. You want to see him?
Yeah, come on, bring him on the show. And do we have a name?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you the name, and you'll see why. So this little one's name is Tadpole, because this one's missing its tail.
Oh.
Look at that. So this is one of our rescue alligators that we have at Bellowing Acres. And this one was actually a nuisance alligator because it was chasing people's fishing lures, and people were complaining about it, So it was caught as a nuisance gator. But when they saw the end of the tail was missing, they're like, oh, that's not going to do very well, out in the wild, right? Now, why is it missing the tail? We don't know. It could have hatched out like that, or probably from a predator trying to grab it, when it was very small. The tail doesn't really grow back, so it could have happened when it was just a little tiny, tiny baby. But so we named this one Tadpole because it kind of looks like got a little frog butt when a tadpole's becoming a frog, and they have that little nub on their butt,
Right.
So that's where the little name came from.
Well, so tell us, what are some of Tadpole's favorite foods?
Anything.
Anything. Okay.
Anything and everything meat.
Okay.
So at that size, we think this is a her. It might be. It's a little too small to tell, honestly. But we usually just call it a her, just to simplify it. I think it's because my girlfriend Gabby wants it to be a girl.
I like it.
But yeah. So anyways, we feed her a lot of shrimp. We'll also give chicken, little fish, things like that. Yeah.
Now, are you able to generate revenues from your, video and podcasts and social media and stuff, and to help defray the cost for feeding all these animals?
Yeah, that's exactly what we do. So I worked down south in tourism the last 20 years, being an alligator wrestler and doing tours and all this kind of stuff. And basically, I just saved the entire time. As far as building the sanctuary goes, I pretty much built it out of pocket. I paid for everything up front out of my life savings. I'm all in. I dumped everything I have into building this place. I grew up in Central Florida below poverty line, so I didn't come from money. I literally built it with my own blood. Literally.
Wow. Okay. Well, I could tell you're very proud of it and excited about the opportunity there.
Yeah.
And so little Tadpole here. Now, do you keep her in a caged area?
Yeah, so we have a little tub right now that she lives in, and it's about it's an 8-foot tub. So for this animal that's, maybe a foot long. But we are going to be building an entire like concrete pool and everything for her. She gets a little bit bigger. The other alligator ponds I have at the property are about 30 foot by 50 foot and 6 feet deep. And so they're pretty darn big,
Yeah. So you have the bigger gators.
Yeah. Our biggest is 11'4".
So what kind, you're a sanctuary, right? So that means you're taking in animals that are not out in the, or are unable to survive in the
Right.
wild successfully?
Yeah, so we have quite a few different animals that are there for different reasons and different backgrounds. So as far as the alligators go, the alligators we have are nuisance alligators. So a nuisance gator is basically, by law of definition for Florida Fish and Wildlife, is an alligator that is a threat to human life or property. So that can be as simple as like it's just somewhere you don't want it to be. Someone feels threatened. It doesn't necessarily have to have been aggressive or done something, but typically if it's over 4 feet, almost all nuisance gators are killed. The state kills about 8,000 per year. So that's why we try to educate the public and try to prevent nuisance gators by preventing nuisance people. And like we were saying earlier, that's mainly people feeding them. And that's why we say a fed gator is a dead gator, because they all get killed for it, So we never want to feed them. So we try to provide a permanent home for some of the nuisance alligators instead of having them euthanized as they typically are. So we have that. Then we also have a lot of animals that are former pets that cannot go back out in the wild. They don't have the survival. They didn't learn their survival traits. They're raised in captivity, that sort of a thing. We have a lot of exotic animals too. Like we have an African crested porcupine. It's not like I can let that go out here,
Mm-hmm.
We've got a couple Nile crocodiles at the sanctuary, which obviously we're not letting those go in Florida. We have a barred owl that was hit by a car and deemed non-releasable with a broken wing. So we've got quite a few different animals, different stories, different backgrounds.
Wow. Now, I know a lot of our viewers and listeners would like to see some of the alligator wrestling plus other things. What are the best places to go for them to see what you do?
So on Instagram, Gator Boys Chris, and so you can look me up on there. It's
Gator Voice?
Gator Boys. So it was a TV show. If you ever saw, it was several years ago. It was called Gator Boys. So I was on that show. Actually, honestly, I hated it, and I want to change my name, but because I've got a large following, they don't let you change your name. So I've got 1.4. I'm gonna set her down. She's getting a little upset there. I've got 1.4 million followers on there, which for some reason means I'm not allowed to change the name.
Oh, okay.
It's silly.
People, work their butts off to try to get a lot of followers.
Yeah.
So maybe it's not a bad idea to keep the name, even if you.
I guess it's to prevent like scammers and people that like steal your page and then can change the name and that kind of thing. We're getting into the weeds on the social media, but anyway.
But where else? So YouTube,
Facebook. On Facebook, it's just Chris Gillette, my name, and then I've got a backup page on there which is Gator Chris, and then which is also the name of my YouTube channel is Gator Chris as well, so people can check that out. And on YouTube, I do almost daily vlogs of the sanctuary, taking care of the animals and the ins and outs.
On what media?
That's on YouTube.
On YouTube. So those of you that want to see Gator Chris Gillette doing all these neat things out at the sanctuary, you've got all the different social media platforms.
Yeah.
Just pick one and put in Chris Gillette or Gator Chris or
Gator
Boy or
all
whatever.
That kind of stuff, you'll find me on there.
And you'll find
TikTok.
Yeah. Now, what are some of the other animals? Let's talk about, we don't want to just focus in on gators today. Let's talk about some of your other friends out there.
Oh, I have another friend I can show you I brought.
Sure, bring them along.
Okay. Give me 1 sec to pull them out.
Okay, we are going to have a live presentation momentarily. I'm Jeffrey Meldon with Meldon Law, and look at that beautiful snake.
Yeah, so this is a ball python, And so they are native to Africa, and they get the name ball python because they will curl up in a ball as a defense mechanism and hide their head in there. But this is probably one of the most common snakes in the pet trade, which means that we get a lot of them at the sanctuary as rescues, and people don't want them anymore. And actually, I wanted to bring the other one it's the same species, but we have one that was kind of famous called TikTok, and it was a ball python that was somebody's pet that they dumped. And then we found it at a park, and it was covered in ticks. And so it's really gross. And we did a video of removing the ticks off of it, and it got 50 million views.
Wow.
On TikTok. So we named the snake TikTok.
So isn't that wild? First of all, I commend you for using social media to let people know about the wild animals, and the proper way for humans to respect them. I think that's really great work that you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, we try hard. I say it's a balance. Social media is difficult because people have such a short attention span. And so obviously we're trying to do education and conservation, but the people are just like 5-second attention span. So it's really hard to make your videos like engaging and capture their attention while still trying to educate people about the animals and how to properly treat them. So it's like this infotainment balancing act.
I know. It's like you'll get more people to watch a 10 or 15 second reel than a 1 minute reel, although the 1 minute reel is more in depth and interesting, right?
Yeah, it's very hard to get your information compacted into that little tiny thing. You know, it's like people would rather watch somebody trip and fall than actually learn about something. You know, like the video.
Yeah,
it's just crazy what does well. You know, so like it's a very competitive world. You know, but we're doing our best to try to get the information out there for people to learn about these animals and garner respect and admiration for them.
So this is a python.
Yes.
And what are the traits of a python?
So, pythons have these heat pits along their face, which is pretty darn cool. You see those indentations on the lip right there?
Sure.
So those allow them to see body heat, like in the Predator movie, where
Yeah.
like you could see somebody's body heat. So that's really, really cool. So pythons have that, and then so do pit vipers, like rattlesnakes. But the pythons have that. Pythons are also constrictors. They are non-venomous. So if this one were to bite me right now, it's very tame. It's not going to. But if it did, it would just bleed a little bit, but be harmless. It wouldn't cause any like real problem for me or anything like that. They are a constrictor species, so they want to bite their prey, wrap around, and they constrict them. And then I'm sure you've heard about the pythons down in the Everglades, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's a project I worked on for many years.
Oh, and I guess they were starting to get out of control down there.
Oh, they've been out of control.
Tell us, Tell us about it. What's going on?
I mean, I've caught over 100 of them myself. The biggest one being 16 feet and 123 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's my personal biggest one. I have a friend, he caught one that was over 18 feet. So they get massive down there. And I mean, we catch so many of them when I was down there working on it. So other than the tourism stuff, I did work in research for many years as well. But you can't pay the bills doing research. So that's why we did the tourism stuff. But yeah, so I've caught many of the Burmese pythons down there. And they're a major issue ecologically eating the native animals. So a 16-foot python will eat that alligator. It'll eat a 5 or 6 foot alligator.
Wow.
Imagine, it's eating a gator bigger than you. It's crazy. So it's a major problem down there.
Because they're not a native species, and so when you bring in a non-native species into that environment, which allows them to grow very big, and because there's lots of food down there for them, right?
Yeah, so there's no native predator to be able to really keep up with that. The only thing that can help control them are alligators. But then they're eating alligators too, depending on the size of the animal. It's really who's bigger, who sees who first kind of thing. So it's just it's an ecological nightmare. I mean, South Florida is like a zoo now. You can go down there, and if you know what you're doing, you can find an animal from every continent except Antarctica in one day.
Wow.
No penguins yet.
Well, that's because, and people buy wild animals. They're not knowledgeable. They eventually figure out this isn't very well suited for our home.
Yep.
And then they go and they drive out in the Everglades and dump them there.
It's an environment where they survive. So the same thing happens in any kind of affluent area. So in New York, it happens all the time. But in New York, the winter comes, everything dies. In Miami, the winter's mild. Everything survives.
Yeah, the Everglades are it's amazing down there. However, are there any other ecological imbalances besides, some of the huge snakes down there?
Oh yeah, there's tons. I mean, something that a lot of people don't see are the fish. There's an insane amount of invasive fish. So someone who dives in the Everglades, which I don't recommend, again, it's dangerous, that's where I get alligators trying to take my head off out there. But when I'm diving out in the Everglades, majority of the fish I see are non-native. You see tons of tilapia, Mayan cichlids, Oscars, all these other different kinds of smaller cichlids. Like there's a lot, and like you'll see like a Florida gar, a largemouth bass, but the majority of fish you see are not native. But it's underwater, most people aren't aware of it, and so they're not seeing it. So it's a really big issue with the fish down there. Invertebrates like fire ants. You ever been lit up by fire ants? They're not native. They're Argentinian, and they eat all the eggs of anything on the ground. So like snake eggs, turtle eggs, ground nesting birds, fire ants are a major problem too. The snakes get all the media attention because it's snakes. People are afraid, But I mean, that's actually when I was in college, and that's what I have all my academic publications are in invasive species biology. So this is my thing,
Right,
it's wild.
Is there anything that can be done to, help control it?
So the cat's out of the bag as far as the pythons go. Given our current understanding and knowledge, unless a completely novel thing comes out that we don't know of right now, there is no way to contain that population. It is completely out of control. It is spreading. Now, hunters go out and remove as many as they can. I was a state licensed python hunter down there, you're fighting a losing battle. But what I tell people, every python you remove is literally saving thousands of native animals. So, like, you should do it, but it's never going to win the war. You know what I mean? Right. So, like, you're making a difference. Like, it should still be done, but we're never going to get rid of them. They are entrenched in the system at this point.
And what about the non-native fish you just mentioned? Are they causing an imbalance?
Yeah, so that's one that's a lot harder to see, especially for the regular person, because you're not looking underwater, you're not seeing it. So they'll do surveys where they do like electroshock. And so they'll shock an area and all the fish come up and they'll try to collect everything non-native, out of it. But like, obviously you can't do that across the entirety of the Everglades. It's just not. As far as I know, there is no feasible way to help control that either. It's really out of control down there as far as the environment goes with invasive species. Actually, talking about that, a new one, I just got back from Puerto Rico last month, and there are reticulated pythons in Puerto Rico, which are native to Southeast Asia, and they're blowing up out there. We caught one that was 13 feet, and it's nuts. Like,
so these are in inland water sources.
Oh, the pythons, you mean? Yeah. They're just everywhere. It's wild. So like the leading cause of species extinction worldwide is deforestation. Number 2, invasive species. It is a worldwide issue that we're facing. So like, I mean, there's just animals being spread all over by people, and they're just blowing up everywhere, causing major ecological issues across the world.
Have you had a chance to see any of the other sanctuaries we have up here in North Florida?
I haven't really. So I've been really focused on building my place. I really want to get out more.
Yeah, because horses are number one around here, and there's lots of horse sanctuaries. But there's also some wild animal sanctuaries with hippopotamuses and big stuff like that. And there is a famous wildlife sanctuary that was founded in the 1960s by the inventor of the Nautilus workout equipment.
Oh, wow.
His name was Arthur Jones.
Okay.
And he built this place called Jumbo Lair in Anthony, Florida, which is near Ocala.
Okay.
And in order to bring his jumbo animals there, he had to have a very large plane. And to have a large plane, he had to build a big runway. And he had huge animals, hippopotamuses, giraffes, elephants. That's why he called it Jumbo Lair. And he had this collection of animals out there for years and years. And as a matter of fact, Ross Allen and his son Tom Allen got me a tour out there.
Oh, yeah?
And I got to see his place. Interestingly enough, he sold Jumbo Lair to John Travolta.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And because John Travolta liked to fly big airplanes. And so Travolta flies in and out, and he had a private airstrip that could handle like a 747 plane. It was crazy. Now I think they've sold off some of the land around there so other people can have their own private planes come in and out. The reason I'm telling you this is because North Central Florida, where we live, has had some really amazing sanctuaries for animals. Now, I don't know if bringing a giraffe and an elephant to here is exactly a sanctuary. Right. I think it was more of a private collection.
Yeah. Yeah. We see a lot of those, yeah.
But, I've been around and seen some of the other wildlife sanctuaries. And, for horses, there's tons of horses that, when they are older in particular or have some disability, they need someone to take care of them because they're not working, they're not showing, they're not racing or whatever. And it's like, they really, brought a lot of joy to people for many, many years. And then at some point, someone needs to help take care of them. And I think once you get your sanctuary open, you're going to find a lot of people interested in coming and visiting.
Yeah, I mean, along those lines, I really wanted to focus on crocodilians because that's my passion. But I have 7 pigs right now that are rescue pigs. Not for them to eat, but like to live out their lives as a rescue. We have goats. We have all the things that I would never think that I would end up having. But because I have the ability to help save them, I just feel responsible. So we take them on, and I'm like, oh, I really don't want to have more pigs, and I don't want more. Don't send them to me. But I feel bad, and I'm like, I want to focus on my gators, and then I just end up with all these other animals because I want to help, and I feel bad.
Well, you know what? I'm excited about Bellowing Acres. We're going to be staying in touch with you, okay, so that you can let us know when we're going to have private tours, for the public and how things are going out there because it's so much fun. I've taken, my grandkids out on trips, and I'll tell you, we're very blessed up here in North Central Florida. All the different animals that we have up here.
Yeah, it's an amazing area. And the springs, I mean, it's beautiful.
Yeah, we got springs and we got these areas where wildlife is, and it, hopefully it won't be quite as out of control as South Florida.
Yeah, the winters up here keep it in check a lot better.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Yeah, that you mentioned. Yeah, even though our winters aren't deep freezes, when it gets, I know certainly reptiles, they have to be in certain temperatures, but there's reptiles further up north, like South Carolina and places.
Yeah, it depends on what we're talking about. There's a greater abundance of reptiles, of course, closer you get to the equator, in the warmer weather. But there are some that do live farther and farther north. I mean, alligators are one that is very cold tolerant. They can handle snow. They can handle the water freezing. They'll stick their nose out of the ice. I mean,
no kidding. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as the invasive ones go, they're definitely more South Florida, tropical. Most of them should not make it up this far.
Right.
We'll see what happens. We'll see,
Well, there is a difference between South Florida and North Florida.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah.
You figured that one out, right?
Oh, yeah. Have you heard of tegu lizards?
I've heard the name, but I don't know. Tell us about them.
So it's a large lizard species. They get up to 4 feet. And I have one that I actually caught down south where they're an invasive species. And I have the permit for it, of course, But they are one that is, there is a population started in South Florida everywhere now. And they're a big problem because they're predatory lizards. It's a pretty big predatory lizard. But there's also a population in Georgia. And they're able to go down in burrows and they den up in the winter and they can survive amazingly. Now, thankfully, they're not any around here that I know of, but that is one that might be spreading farther than people might imagine.
Yeah, and if they're predatory, then that throws off the balance of nature, and all of a sudden, I mean, to those of you listening and watching what we're talking about, it's really important for us to realize that there is a balance of nature.
Yes.
And when you throw it off, it's not just the animals, but it affects humans too. And the
Yes.
place, you get certain creatures, and they may become predatory, and then all of a sudden it's your pet dog or something else that goes missing. And
I just tell people, like, if you want to have a pet, realize that you are now that animal's caretaker for the rest of its life. You don't get to be, I'm tired of this, I'm going to dump it, I'm going to let it go, because there is no happy ending there. A lot of people, it's out of sight, out of mind. So when they dump an animal, they're like, oh, it's doing great, it's probably thriving and surviving, it's probably having a great time, because it's out of sight and out of mind. You can't be proven wrong. Most animals that are dumped die, and the ones that don't die are surviving by killing native wildlife. It's lose-lose. There is no win there. So take care of your pets. Don't dump them.
Okay. We have been talking with Chris Gillette, the co-founder of Bellowing Acres Animal Sanctuary. And Chris, it's been fascinating. I'm going to just call this part one of our interview, because you got to come back and keep us up to date. I love hearing about animals, and we have a koi pond in our backyard.
Okay.
And the blue herons think it's their grocery store.
I imagine they do.
And, this morning, the first large blue heron, now I'm talking 4 feet tall. These guys are big, right? Mm-hmm. We called them Paco. So every blue heron that comes trying to fish in our koi pond now, we call him Paco. So Paco arrived this morning, and he was huge, and he's standing there looking in the pond. Now, luckily, my wife, Patricia, came up with a netting system.
There you go.
So we netted the koi pond, right? You can still see it. You can't even see the net, but the blue heron can see that. Mm-hmm. And they're beautiful, beautiful birds.
Yeah, they are.
Have you seen any up here?
Oh, yeah, I get them in my backyard.
yeah, and they're really cool. And, my wife wants to explain to them, this is not their grocery store.
Good luck.
Good luck. And Paco keeps coming back, or his cousins or whoever keep coming back. But, we love our, we have a dog and cat and our koi fish, and so it's really special living up here, to have some, seeing all the wildlife. And I would really encourage folks to go out to Paynes Prairie Reserve and take a look at what goes on out there. People don't realize how amazing that whole Paynes Prairie area is.
It's a beautiful area.
Yeah, and it's kind of different than South Florida,
Absolutely, yeah. No, I tell people all the time, like, didn't you love Miami? And I'm like, no. I like the ecosystem down there. The animals are cool, but it is a zoo and a half. I'm very happy to be up here.
So if folks want to see alligators and other wildlife, go out to the Paynes Prairie. There's 2 or 3 different really
Silver
cool.
Springs.
Oh yeah, Silver Springs, right in the.
You can do the boat tour, or you can rent a kayak and get in there. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, Silver Springs is one of the most beautiful areas. Johnny Weissmuller, who was a Olympian swimmer, did these underwater shows out there back in the 1930s.
Oh wow!
It was a film industry hit down there. And if you look at the history of Silver Springs, I mean, the animals that they protected down there were just amazing, you know. And they had monkeys on the island, and they had the alligators and the snakes, and they had shows, and they tried to educate people, and so we're in a really cool area of the state of Florida. So Chris Gillette, thank you very much. So check out Chris on all the social media. Let's see, we've got what is it, Gator Boy, Chris Gillette. What are some other names?
Yeah, Gator Chris.
Gator Chris.
I gotta consolidate them all under one.
But anyhow, unfortunately, we lost Steve Irwin, but thank God we have Chris Gillette.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming on the show. And we're going to take a short break on Meldon Law and Friends, and we'll be back in just a few seconds.
doing?
Well, I'm joining the band, of course. Since Meldon Law is the official law firm partner of the Florida Gators, I want to help.
Dad, we're litigators. Let's stick to helping people in the courtroom.
Well, can we still hang out and jam a little bit? At Meldon Law, we won't back down.
I was going down a one-way street and a girl that was driving her car T-boned me on my scooter. I ended up going for an MRI and discovering that I had 2 herniated discs. Coming to Carey allowed me to not have to worry about what doctor I was going to see or what physical therapist I had to go to. They say, these are the people we trust. You're going to have a great experience there, and I honestly did each time.
Call Meldon Law. Your consultation is absolutely free.
And I was in an accident. Someone ran red light and hit me, and I was hurt. You don't know where to turn. Luckily, I called Jeffrey. These big insurance companies, they don't want you to win. They truly don't. But Jeffrey and his firm and the people that work here, they just really fight for you. You call the law offices of Jeffrey Meldon, because you're going to need help, and they will help you.
Call Meldon Law right now.
Hey, Sammy, look who's there. Say hi.
Hey!
You again!
Meldon Law, Jeffrey speaking.
Jeffrey!
Somebody else hit us here.
Here we go again. Welcome back to Meldon Law and Friends. I'm Jeffrey Meldon, attorney and founder at Meldon Law, where we help seriously injured folks put their lives back together after an accident. You can give us a call, 352-373-8000, or just go to Meldon Law, and we will be there to help you out. Check us out also on meldonlaw.com. So, what's going on? Okay, Gator basketball is hot. For those of you that haven't been following Gator basketball, we're ranked number 2 in the country. We got a big game tonight against Oklahoma. First time we've had Oklahoma here in a while. I don't know if they've ever played here in Gainesville, as a matter of fact. They just joined the SEC, so that's great. And in order to support our favorite charity, the Ronald McDonald House, Meldon Law is donating $19.71. 1971 is the year we were founded, to both the men's. We're donating $19.71 to the Ronald McDonald House for every free throw made by the men's basketball team and the women's basketball team. Over $10,000 a year will go to support our favorite charity. We have a big baseball game. Baseball. I went to see the Gators play baseball. They are a World Series contender again this year. They've been twice in the last 2 years. I think they're on their way again. The Miami Hurricanes are coming to town, and for those of you that know college baseball, it's a huge deal. And they always have a great team. So February 28th, March 1st and 2nd, we are giving away tickets for all the games. So all you have to do is follow Meldon Law on Facebook or Instagram, and you will be able to win tickets. We have 3 separate giveaways for each day: Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The 4th annual Warriors Gala in Ocala, February 28th. Making It Matthews, our good friends over there, Matt and Brian, are doing an amazing job. So the Warriors Gala at Making It Matthews in Ocala, they're helping veterans who need help with PTSD, and they also support our Gold Star families. The 11th Annual Habitat Ocala Strawberry Festival, March 1st at the McPherson Complex. Ready for a very good time? Okay, the 11th Annual Habitat out there at the McPherson Complex. So let's support them. That should be a blast. And Lake City presents the 31st Annual Gateway Pro Rodeo. We got a rodeo going in Lake City March 7th through the 9th, 3 days. And that's out at the Florida Gateway Fairgrounds Rodeo Arena in Lake City. So get out there. You're gonna have a blast. They got steer wrestling, team roping, saddle bronking, barrel racing, tie down roping, bull riding, the whole shebang. And we're out there supporting them. We got lots of ticket giveaways. Just go to our Facebook page, Meldon Law, and you will see all the tickets we're giving away. We got lady gymnastics, top 5 program in the country, maybe win a national championship this year. We got ladies softball, amazing. They are ranked number 2 or 3 in the country, and they're fantastic. I predict they're going to win the national title this year. We got men's baseball, men's basketball, and track and field and all kind of other stuff. But take advantage of it. Beautiful weather now, and let's support everyone that's out there working hard to make our time at the arena or the ballpark a lot of fun. Meldon Law is business is booming at Meldon Law. If you know anybody that wants a great job and is very talented, put them in touch with us. Just go to meldonlaw.com or give us a call at 352-373-8000. And we're always looking for talented people. If you have talent and you're interested in working with a great law firm, please contact us. We are always recruiting. We're always hiring A talent. So come and join us. You'll have a great career, a great time, and a lot of fun. That's going to be a wrap on Meldon Law and Friends. Thank you very much for joining us today, and we will see you next week.